Even if most products get forgotten by the media after the review period is done, there are a few that stand out. Gadgets that people still ask about months later. Some that we even decide to hold on to as daily drivers, and that we get to see age over time. The iPad Pro 2018 is one of them. I know by now you're wondering why we're doing an After the Buzz after a product refresh, and it's really because of two reasons. The first is mainly because these products launched in March when that usually happens in the fall, and second because if you think of it, nothing that we could call major change when compared to the 2018 models. So it's got me debating if I should upgrade, and I know that many of you are wondering if you should, or if you could probably save some money and buy the 2018 models instead of the new ones. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocket Now, and this is our After the Buzz of the iPad Pro 2018, sponsored by Surfshark. Stick around to learn how you could save on a powerful VPN. I'm currently stuck in a very odd situation where we're all quarantined and, I decided to spend some time in Honduras, and my 2820 iPad order is stuck in New York. So, first of all, definitely the frustration of not being able to get you early coverage on these new models, but at the same time, it's about more than that for me. See, I've become an avid iPad user since the first generation. It's become an invaluable tool for everything that I do on a daily basis. And yet, for the first time ever, I'm actually debating if I do need to upgrade when compared to these previous models. Think about it, what really changed? We have a new A12Z processor, which is only a slight boost in GPU versus the A12X on the last model, and there's now 6GB of RAM across the board versus 4 if you picked any less than 1TB in 2018. We go from a single shooter to a dual camera system along with LiDAR, but aside from scanning a few documents here and there, I've never taken photos with my iPad, nor have I ever cared about AR. There are now also studio quality microphones, which is nice to have, but which no pro creator will use to replace a real microphone. And last, it now supports Wi-Fi 6 at a time when the average home router doesn't support it. And that's it. Apple has just really upgraded 4 things that are nice to have but not deal breakers. And the features that I actually do care about, like iPadOS 13.4 and its trackpad support, and that new Magic Keyboard that launches in May, yeah, all those are compatible with the older model. And then how about those rumors for that mini LED iPad still happening in the fall? I think you understand where I'm going. If you currently own the 2018 models, the 2020 update doesn't really feel like an upgrade. The question left is if this 2018 model has aged well, and can it stand another year of use? And that's what this video is about. In retrospect, this has been the iPad that I have loved and hated most, for a couple of reasons. Let me begin with the reasons why I like it. Apple's marketing sometimes makes this seem like a computer, and sometimes that it's not. If all you do is email and web browse, then you're fine, but for me an iPad is less a computer and more a digital notepad. It's mostly flat on a table to doodle notes while my MacBook Pro does the heavy lifting. I use it to highlight my script to make sure that my shot list is complete while I'm getting a video done. And it's also the primary device that I'll bring to a meeting with the Smart Keyboard Folio for notes since, yeah, that 10-hour battery life is no joke even after a year. There's lots of genius to this design to enable my usage approach, and it starts with the magnetic connector for the Apple Pencil. It spares you the need of having to worry about where to place it, where to charge it. It's just there, and the magnets are strong enough to keep it in place even when you commute. It's allowed for this Apple Pencil 2 to not age at all, as I haven't dropped it once since I purchased it. I can't really say that I've used that secondary double tap gesture much because of its inconsistent support, but at least you do have the option. And really, the story is its marriage with this display. A few artist friends of mine have praised the accuracy and lack of latency. Apple knows how to make a good display, and its choice to reduce bezels closer to the chassis and to improve the symmetry leads to a very pleasant experience. There's good palm rejection in case you need to hold it with one hand, and a couple of other things that just spoil me, like the 120Hz ProMotion when I'm navigating the UI, and second is the content consumption experience. Colors are as accurate as it gets for a tablet, and the quad speaker system has made me leave the portable speaker I used to travel behind. It's really that good even on this 11-inch model. Experiment. If you're going to use the name Ultra, your device has to be... By the way, all that scripting and highlighting is done on Microsoft OneNote. I feel that it's the best app at mimicking a notepad, and which leads me to my next reason why I prefer using an iPad over a Chromebook, for example. See, the iPad OS and iOS versions of OneNote are as complete as what you get on Windows, where on Android it's not so much. It's the same with apps like Day One, which has barely existed on the Google ecosystem. I really don't know how Apple does it, but lots of my favorite applications are just better on the iPad. And then there's performance. Apple's A12X still beats lots of chips in single-core performance, and Apple products need very little RAM. And we also now have USB-C support matched with a real file explorer. So yeah, it's actually growing to feel more like a computer. Now, sadly, there's no such thing as a perfect product, and I've got a list of things I'm mixed about when it comes to this iPad, and it starts really with the storage specifications. I'm sure that some of you can survive with 64 gigs. I can't. Apps keep getting larger. I had to pay a lot of money extra to go 256 gigabytes, where I feel the 2020 models address that by starting at 128 gigs. I feel that that's the sweet spot. And then second is some additional thoughts on this display, not because of its quality, but because of how it ages. I've babied this product a lot, and yet I do have some scratches here and there. And then there's also life before the trackpad, where all Apple products ship with an oleophobic coating, and yet particularly with this iPad, I feel that wore off between the first or second month. This iPad has become quite the smudge magnet, and cleaning it is not easy unless you have specialized cleaning cloths. And sadly, it goes as far as to affect Face ID given its placement, which will easily get dirty and become not as reliable in typical use. And since we're here, let's talk about how this iPad's design doesn't blend well with accessories. First off, some people like the simplicity of this boxy approach, where I really miss the tapered design they used to have. I found that made it more ergonomic to hold and made them feel thinner than they were. And second is that since this change meant this iPad lost the magnets that permitted Apple's smart cover, all accessories require a back flap, which sure adds some extra levels of protection, but also means that regardless of what accessory you use, this iPad becomes thicker than even a 15-inch MacBook Pro. I've even been forced to try cheaper iPad accessories to make it thinner for travel, and also because I really don't like the Smart Keyboard Folio. The keys only make the smudges on the display worse, and it's really not the best at ergonomics. Unless you're working from a desk, balancing this combo on your lap requires counterbalancing it with your hands. And then there's the fact that this material does not age well. It picks up smudges that later become permanent. I really don't find that those $180 were a good investment, and it seems that this new $300 floating Magic Keyboard will age the same. Now, the fact that it brings a trackpad integrated might be a great way to keep the display clean. We're just going to have to wait until May to confirm that. But I do find it genius for the company to give you other ways to interact with the iPad. I've been testing it currently with Apple's separate Magic Trackpad, and the experience has been good for the most part. There is a learning curve because the gestures are not the same, even if you're coming from a Mac. Now, you can make the experience feel similar with a couple of changes that you can do in settings. Another word of advice is match all this software change with the power of a VPN. I believe that everyone should have a VPN for tons of reasons, and probably one of the most complete and affordable solutions with a ton of added perks comes from today's sponsor, Surfshark. It's just $1.99 a month, and the benefits begin with allowing unlimited multiple connections at once, which I haven't seen any other VPN service provide. A VPN allows you to connect locally to different regions, so you don't have to worry about your favorite Netflix series being blocked in your country. You can even avoid price discrimination by companies who bump the prices of plane tickets or hotels depending on where you're browsing from. And then there's browser security, which is a huge issue everywhere. And Surfshark allows you to not just encrypt your connection, but to multi-hop and use two different servers for encryption at the same time. For half the price of a latte a month, I know of no other VPN service that offers so much. I highly recommend you give Surfshark a try. Follow the link in the description below and enter promo code POCKETNOW. You get 83% off and an extra month for free. Now, the reason why iPadOS is in the mix section is because, well, it's cool and inconsistent at the same time. I'm a huge fan, for example, of split-screen multi-window, but the one app I need it most with is Gmail, and it doesn't support it. And sure, you can use slide over, but wouldn't it be great if the window was wider for apps like the browser? Now let's talk about Safari since we already started. I mean, the promise of iPadOS was to get full desktop browsing, and that didn't really work that way at the beginning. It would tell websites that it was a Mac instead of an iPhone, which was good, but then the problem was that it would sometimes deliver and sometimes it would not. Today I'll say that it still isn't perfect, but at least WhatsApp Web now works, even if notifications are still a mixed bag. Really, what I've liked the most about iPadOS is Sidecar, or at least most of the time. If you're doing regular browsing, spreadsheets, or email, the marriage of the Mac and the iPad works flawlessly, but once you try to edit video, it seems like if the GPU can only take so much. Also, I'd recommend the 12.9-inch model more if you're interested in a more consistent match in resolution. To conclude, what can I say? This has been the most polarizing experience I've ever had with an iPad Pro. I've loved it as much as I've hated it. I love the display, and I find the whole integration of the Apple Pencil with magnets to be genius. But everything that changed with this design is really what I miss the most. I miss that magnetic smart connector for the cases. And there's even this whole controversy over the structural integrity of this iPad because of the change in design. I've used my iPad Pro for more than a year and I still haven't bent it, and the aluminum only has a minor scuff in the corner, but keep in mind that it's been protected by accessories 100% of the time, given the added functionality. Here's the thing though, if you think of it, the new 2020 model is the exact same build, the same materials, same display, same almost everything. Really, the only reason why the 2020 iPad Pro makes sense is if there's something on iPadOS 14 coming soon that we don't know about. But if you think of it, it would have to do with LiDAR, which means that AR would have to be your thing. But since it's not something that I care about, I have my 2020 model stuck in New York, and so far, I'm perfectly fine without it. Let us know if you would pick those 2020 models, or if you're sticking with the 2018 iPad Pros in the comments down below. And while you're at it, follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. Also follow me on my personal handles to see me stay at home and play around with these products, because yes, we're currently working from the apartment building here in Honduras. I hope you don't mind the videos from here, as that's as much as we can do to remain responsible with everything that's happening. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.